Alright, hello everybody. It's been a long time since I've uploaded on this channel. I was gonna upload, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, but I realized later that the footage of that upload corrupted. So that's great. But we're back. Back better than ever, I guess. With another forecasting video. It has been so long since I've done one of these, but kind of here we are, and kind of here's how we are in the season so far. So a few days ago, there was a sequence of severe storms that occurred over kind of the southern into a little bit of the south central United States. It started on the late evening hours of March 3rd, 2025, in Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas, and migrated its way into Dixie Alley on the 4th of March and up into the mid Atlantic on the 5th. On the 3rd, there were a few tornadoes over Texas and Oklahoma. The 4th, there's been a ton of tornadoes from Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, all the way into Mississippi, Florida. A lot of wind reports as well. And then on the 5th, we had a lot of wind reports and some tornadoes as well. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Today there is expected to be some severe threat over Texas. We'll probably briefly talk about that. Just getting tabs up here. We'll briefly talk about that. So here we are. Here's the SBC's outlook for it. It's gonna load. All right, so the SBC has a marginal risk over portions of central Texas this evening for a hail threat. Excuse me. Tomorrow, SBC has a 2% tornado risk, a 5% wind risk, and a 5% hail threat. So all hazards marginal. No mention of an upgrade. So they're expecting the conditions to stay relatively marginal tomorrow. Day 3, another marginal risk for a brief tornado and some isolated damaging wind gusts. So let's kind of go into this a little bit here. We're going to start with the HRRR. Start the 18Z run, and we'll start it with today, and we'll kind of move eastward, and we'll start with it synoptically. How about that? Move our way out. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Move our way over here. All right, so currently we have a really large belt of flow kind of over the southern and central United States here. There have been some strong storms in Arizona today, even some supercells. You can see that positively tilted shortwave right there is causing that, or positively tilted trough with embedded shortwaves in it. That is expected to move into Texas, and there's expected to be some storms to initiate with this shortwave later tonight over portions of central Texas. Moving into tomorrow, several embedded shortwaves will likely provide a severe threat, and also the same thing kind of goes into Sunday. Let's go look at our reflectivity here and move into the southern United States so we can talk about this risk more. All right. Here we are around early morning hours tomorrow morning. We start to see some storms develop in central Texas. Taking a forecast sounding over here, we can see there is a long, very straight hodograph, favorable for large hail. Thermodynamic profile suggests this as well, with our decent instability between 800 millibars and about 400 millibars. Lapse rates are about 7 to 8 in the mid levels, which will help, which is generally seen with this steep thermodynamic profile. We got about 500 mix most unstable cape. Kind of see these storms last until the early morning. It looks like we get a new round of storms to kind of fire up in the afternoon hours on Sunday in eastern Texas. These storms are again elevated and will have a hail threat. Doesn't really look like the HRRR develops too much surface-based activity with these storms. So HRRR doesn't really have too much for tomorrow. We'll look at the HREF in a minute here. Looks like the main show on the HRRR is Sunday. Got a lot of thunderstorm activity over Florida. Why don't we take a look at some of this around 15Z in the early morning hours? See, mainly a wind and hail threat here, maybe a tornado threat. Looking toward 2 p.m. Eastern. Yes, we could start to see a little bit more low-level curvature in that hodograph here. some low-level curvature as well. You can see here, not the best lapse rates at all. Very skinny cape profile, but could be enough to get a brief tornado or two. Look at the HRF here. Same general picture the HRRR showed. Let's kind of look at these general. Oh, general kind of scales here. We'll start in the South Plains. Okay. So it looks like storms are going to start to fire off around 8Z or so tonight, and we could see a decent hail threat evolve west of Dallas-Fort Worth. Could be a slight risk verification potentially. That's what the HRF shows. Tomorrow, it looks like stuff's going to fire off in the late afternoon and evening hours. Pretty meager threat based off the HRF UH tracks. And this will last into Saturday as well. Not too much going in the UH department again. Look at general severe weather. Kind of ingredients here. Why don't we just go to the CONUS? I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal if we just do that. Okay, so going to the CONUS here, we can see tonight we're starting to get decent motion stable cape in central Texas, up to 1,000 joules per kilogram. We can see those UH tracks are tracking along with that. Tomorrow, same general thing. It looks like they're mainly confined to the northern part of this, where you have that more elevated instability and elevated forcing, which makes sense. So not too much there. Main reason why I decided to do a video today is something in the long range. So let's first start off by looking at the deterministic picture. I don't know why it's on lapse rates. Don't mind what the model does. I don't know. We're not worrying about it. Okay, why don't we start with the GFS? We'll start with the Euro. The Euro is gonna be a little bit more loaded. So see the Euro, that general pattern on the Euro. What we've been talking about. It stays pretty similar. You can see a little cutoff low start to come into the picture next week. Now, this lead wave is going to be pretty crucial for your moisture for a severe threat later on. Kind of depends on where that lead wave goes. If it does kind of dissipate like it shows here, we're probably not going to have too much of a deal with that. Euro has a pretty monstrous trough. Neutral tilted, it seems. I'd say that's a neutral tilted. Oh, didn't mean to draw it like that, but I'd say it's a pretty neutral tilted trough there. A very powerful ski jet trough with another one behind it. So we're probably gonna have probably gonna have a long kind of zone up severe weather. But Friday, closed low situated over southwest Kansas there. A large kind of jet streak with pretty big time defluence aloft, really across a lot of the central United States here. So your watch zone would be a very large one from places like Iowa and Illinois all the way kind of into the Mississippi River Valley over here. So this is going to be a large area of severe potential to kind of watch for next week on Friday. Kind of stopping it here at hour 180. If we look at 850 millibar winds, they're very strong. You have a pretty impressive low pressure system developing with least cyclogenesis kind of helping that out in Colorado area. Lots of moisture being pushed up northward because of that strong low level jet. Now this is a global model, so moisture could be underdone here, but we do have 50s from Minnesota all the way down. Kansas is pretty mixed out there. 18Z, you have a lot more moisture, I think, in Kansas. Yeah. You can see here, moisture quickly comes northward, and I mean quickly. And looking at the Cape map of areas that are actually unstable here, you can see there's a pretty big warm sector from areas closer to the upper level low all the way down to the coast. And kind of two main areas. One in the Dakotas, in the Missouri Valley kind of area, and another one down further south in the Arklatex. So, kind of looking at general average soundings won't do you too much good, but it'll kind of show you what we have. Further south, pretty big warm layer aloft with the Euro. Very good wind profile though. So the Euro has a pretty impressive thermodynamic profile above that warm layer. And a very impressive wind profile. Further north, um, really just really dry. If it wasn't so dry, this profile wasn't so dry, you'd probably have a bigger threat further north. Euro also puts this threat into the next day as well from Illinois and Indiana down southward. And you can see that with the troughs. There's kind of two different zones here. You have one with this trough here, and then you have another one kind of here. So you have two different kind of areas to watch. One in here and another one here with what the Euro shows. Strong 850 millibar winds exist in both places, but the dynamics are a lot better further north. Euro presents a rather favorable environment for severe storms from Illinois down to the Gulf Coast there. So that's something to watch. And moisture values are not low at all further north. You have upper 50s dew points reaching into central Wisconsin and Michigan there. And of course, the placement's going to jump around. GFS on the same thing has that wave weakening, and you have a big time ski trough that just plows into the central United States here. Probably would be a very high end synoptic squall there on the leading edge here, which would cause a pretty big time threat. And then the next day, you kind of can see one jet is kind of transferring here. So you have another large kind of severe threat here in a pretty big area on the GFS. And looking at the 850 millibar wind shear, you can kind of see you have a lot of advection, and I'll show you that here. Here's the low level, the system gets really strong in Nebraska there, and you pull up a lot of moisture. The next day, the system's rather strong as well. It's a little bit further north at this point, kind of parks itself up here, and you do have a rather large kind of stream of 850 millibar winds. Lapse rates on this run are pretty strong throughout the whole thing. So with how dry the Southwest United States it's not gonna be too hard to advect a EML further to the east this year, which could cause bigger severe threats further to the east, which is noted by climate prediction people. The Euro does have a pretty wide area of severe potential on Saturday, really from the Missouri Valley down into the south central United States. So really in here. And if you stack that with the next day, and I'll put that in a different color, you can kind of see we're starting to see a pretty decent signal here of a multi-day severe threat. So the next day it kind of has it from Illinois and Indiana down further south. So we could have a multi-day severe threat. And then after that, maybe a threat in the Carolinas as well, or back down further to the east. So we have kind of a multi-day situation setting up across the United States here. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch. Along with that, we can look at the 500 millibar wind on the ensembles as well. And you can see here Friday, pretty big time signal here. Strong low pressure. I didn't mean to draw a high pressure signal. Strong low pressure here and a big time trough kind of coming along with it. Looking at your low pressure strengths on the Euro, your mean is at 982 millibars, which is quite impressive. You have several members into the 70s, 970s, which is rather impressive. Spread is a little bit high. There is a group of models that wants the low to be a little bit more progressive, and then there's a big group that wants it to be a lot slower. If we compare that to the GEFS, which can be a bit more progressive, and you can see the jet streaks way further to the east, which doesn't surprise me. On the GEFS compared to the Euro, you can see the general kind of camp of models is between the two camps that the Euro has, leaning toward kind of the southern one, if we click out of everything, the mean on the GEFS is a 982 as well, but it's not as strong as it could be because almost every single member drops this one into the 770s, even a 967 millibar low here. So a very impressive system. But the low strength isn't as strong as it could be because you have a large spread here on the GEFS. Anywhere from Oklahoma into Wisconsin is where that low is. The Euro spread is also giant as well, and it's very impressive that you still have a 982 millibar low with the spread it has. It might even have a it has a larger spread than the GEFS, at least with the members that are more kind of out there. But you guys see how much more progressive the GEFS is. And if we look at 500 millibar height changes, we can see this is a very impressive signal. You have the ridging, classic ridging out east. And so you're going to have that severe threat kind of in between that ridging and that troughing. And then you have another strong period of ridging. And I'll show you, I did mention there's probably going to be another severe threat after this, and that's probably going to be true. You can see there is another period of troughing out west and very big ridging out here. And I think if I move it to the next day, it'll probably be, yeah, I mean, there's probably going to be more severe weather coming here that next week, maybe Tuesday. I don't know. Just a rough guess. You can see big time ridge in the eastern United States, troughing in the west, setting up upper level pattern. You could kind of see that's a pattern that is quite favorable for severe storms in the mid levels. And you can see moisture trends are not terrible for the being this far out. We'll see if the Gulf is swept with that initial system because that's going to be huge. But going back to here, the GEFS again is a lot more progressive. If we look at it for Saturday, the model spread for Saturday is going to be bigger. Just because it's far out. The Euro model spread for Saturday. Let's look at that real quick. It's actually not that. It's a lot bigger than the GFS. The GFS is it? Actually, no, it's not. The GFS model spread is crazy. You have some members that are out here with the low pressure, and then you have others that are out here. So the spread is giant on the GFS. It goes from Kansas to Quebec. On the Euro, it's a little bit like that, but there's only one member in Quebec, so we're just going to say no to that. It's really from Ontario into Kansas, well, the spread with the Euro. So the Euro has a lot lighter spread than the GFS. Well, looking at the troughs, they're probably going to be quite different. Yeah, not too different. GFS is, of course, further to the east, which isn't surprising. And the Euro is actually quite a bit deeper with its trough as well. You can see that it's got a lot more amplification with it, with how far down it dips. The GFS doesn't dip as far down and also isn't as amplified. So you can see that pretty easily there. If we kind of swipe through the two, I'm probably hurting your eyes now. So yeah, this is kind of a general rundown of next week. The Storm Prediction Center on their 4 through 8 outlook. See if they did mention severe weather. They did mention potential for a large-scale deepening trough ejecting into the plains and upper Midwest. It says severe potential is going to increase, but there's a large spread that leads to low predictability. They are monitoring trends for an upgrade, so we probably will see a 15% out of the system, maybe for multiple days, but at least for day 8 or Friday coming in a couple days when model spread is a lot lower. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.